¿Qué tal, amigos? Estás viendo LatiNation Football Club, and we are very excited to welcome you back because this week, like every week, we have a banger of a show. That's right, Huele a Mundial. We are still many months away from the World Cup, but there are many more teams that just qualified, specifically in CONMEBOL. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about CONCACAF. México y Estados Unidos, they play the same teams and they had different results. But before we go any further, I have to bring my trusted team and collaborators, Chiva, Mayor, Alex Crespo. We are excited and we're gonna dive into my friends CONMEBOL because what a final match day 18 in this competition, Chiva. And now we have defined almost all the teams that might go to the World Cup from South America.
Almost all of them. We have Bolivia that are incredibly, everybody thought that because they were playing Brazil, they were done. And Venezuela playing at home versus Colombia. Well, it turned out to Venezuela losing 6-3 versus Colombia. And Bolivia, believe it or not, beating Brazil 1-0 to make that dramatic qualification. Not to the World Cup, yes. First time in
32 years.
It was amazing to hear the people in the stadium, the players crying. I mean, that's what football is all about. I get chills just to remember that game, and it was amazing.
Pero el que da también quita, and the Venezuelans are destroyed because they had what could be the very best team that they ever had in history. For La Vinotinto, the hopes were very high. It seemed like they had it there, but also if you lose the last 4 games of the qualifiers, it's going to be really hard. Now, let's talk about, for me, the biggest surprise of it all is Brazil ending in 5th place, tied in 28 points with 4 other teams. But now, let's just say something, and this has to be clear. If the World Cup had the original format with only 32 teams, we will be talking that Brazil will have to be going to the playoff to see if they qualify for the World Cup, the biggest disaster. But now this extended format, makes up for the situation. Alex, what is your take? Does Brazil has enough time to correct the course?
I mean, yeah, definitely. I think now with Ancelotti, it's just a learning process. They're 5th place, but I wouldn't put that aside. I mean, this is the time where they're going to get their team together before the World Cup starts. Do I see them being one of the last teams to stand in this tournament? No. I mean, Argentina, Spain, Uruguay. I mean, I think other teams, Ecuador.
Hold your horses, man. Es Brasil, el más ganador en la historia, aunque le duela a muchos.
Pero está quedando en la historia, parece.
Carlito Ancelotti, Brasil, la final, hermano.
It's going to be tough for Ancelotti to really put this team at the level that is expected from Brazil. But the reality is that now in South America, there are other teams that are starting to make noise. One of them, Ecuador. Silently, quietly, with even 3 points deducted at the beginning of the qualification process, they were able to finish on 2nd place. We have players, Ener Valencia, scoring on his 100th game with the national team. Ecuador, it's been a growing team for a long, long time, decades in the making. Chiva, what is your take?
I mean, Ecuador has been proven in the past World Cups. I mean, yes, they advanced to the 2nd round and that's it. But in CONMEBOL, they're always at top. They're always fighting for the first spots. And it's good to see in a way that it's not always Argentina and Brazil at top. I think teams like Ecuador, like Colombia, la Cumbia, que va a ser también en el Mundial, I think this is amazing.
Now, let's talk about Colombia for a moment because 4 goals in one single game. Luis Diaz, what a player, tied in 1st place with Lionel Messi as the top scorer of the competition. What is your take? Is Colombia probably the fastest growing team in South America?
I would honestly give it to Ecuador for the fastest growing team, but I think we have to give respect to Colombia. They made it to the final in the Copa America, which, we know the result of that one, but you have to give them respect. This is a team that they have the players from Europe that they show up every game in para la selección, and they have that drive force. They do really good. I really like them, but I mean, I think I have to give it to Ecuador. I mean, Ecuador has been outstanding this tournament and in these qualifiers, and I honestly root for them doing better than Colombia.
And then we're talking about Colombia. Let's not forget about James Rodriguez also playing his last eliminatory again with Colombia with tears on his eyes. It was a very emotional game as well. And James, one of the greatest players from South America, is also basically saying goodbye to the national team after this World Cup. And I think those are the things that we love to see at football lovers.
definitely a changing of the guard all across teams in the continent. But Alex, you just came back. You had the opportunity to be there, right there in the Monumental, experiencing the last qualifier game from Messi. And Alex, I know that you had the opportunity to have some very exciting conversations around the Albiceleste and the future of the Argentinian team. Tell me about it.
I got a special interview with the VP of the team, Marcelo Ortiz. We got a special interview where we get to see where the selección is going to go after this. And not only that, but we talked to some fans outside the stadium right before the game, and I can't say much more other than just to show you guys. Bueno, acá estamos con Marcelo Ortiz, el vicepresidente del AFA, la selección que muchos acá en todo el mundo dirían es la mejor selección que hay, ¿o no?
Pueblo argentino, estamos convencidos de que tenemos a los campeones del mundo, a los campeones de América por 2 veces, los campeones de la finalísima. Sí, el pueblo está muy contento, muy contento. Yo creo que hay una renovación, que hay muy buenos jugadores, el compromiso de Scaloni con la selección y las selecciones menores nos da como para que vamos a seguir ahí metidos en la pelea permanentemente para el futuro, ¿no?
What is up, LatiNation fam? We are here in Argentina ahead of the Argentina versus Venezuela game, which is set to be Messi's last game officially accounting for points. And we're going to see what people think of Argentina and Messi ahead of the World Cup.
Yo, la verdad, muy emocionada porque es la primera vez que voy a compartir la selección. Así que, ¿qué te puedo decir? Más que feliz.
Para mí, ya estar aquí es cumplir un sueño, ¿me entiendes? Siempre he querido ver la selección y soy fanático de Messi y bueno, cumplo todo junto de una vez.
Y la verdad es una tristeza muy grande para lo que es Argentina por todo lo que llevó Messi, todo lo que sufrió hasta ganar la Copa del Mundo, las 2 Copas Américas que llevamos. Y ahora veremos si podemos llegar al bicampeonato.
Este país es de la desmemoria, por las barbaridades que se le decían a Messi, lo que tuvo que soportar, había renunciado a la selección, volvió a la selección. Y lo único que merece es agradecimiento, solamente agradecimiento.
Después de esto, ¿qué le viene a la selección de Argentina después de la despedida de Lionel Messi?
Yo creo que tenemos un buen plantel, pero yo creo que vamos a salir adelante siempre. Cada vez que pisemos la cancha vamos a dar lo mejor. Esté Messi o no esté Messi, así que para arriba.
La verdad que tenemos muchos jugadores que tienen un gran futuro y que van a seguir apoyando a este equipo. Pero bueno, Messi es el motorcito de todo esto un poco también. Es el que motiva a los jugadores, motiva a todo.
No, este es el último mundial, yo no tengo dudas, se lo merece, tiene que descansar. Si él quiere volver más adelante, sí, pero ya... Y es muy bueno que aparte del equipo, cuando él estuvo lesionado últimamente, el equipo respondió.
Argentina no para de sacar estrellas, entonces tenemos ahora a Mastantuono, Julián, Lautaro, y igual Messi es una tristeza muy grande para todos.
No, la selección va a seguir de la misma manera, esperemos que siga el mismo cuerpo técnico y a tenerle fe al recambio que ya se viene notando hace unos partidos anteriores, contra Brasil, contra Colombia también, lo que es la aparición de Thiago Almada. Franco Mastantuono creo que va a ser no reemplazante de Messi, obvio, porque no va a haber un jugador como él, pero yo pienso que vamos a estar bien, como equipo vamos a estar bien.
Cada día te quiero más, oh, Leo Messi, será siempre eterno. No te vayas más, olé, olé, olé. Esa, bueno, tratamos de que hoy la puedan cantar para hacerle una buena despedida a Messi.
Alex, qué buena oportunidad, qué buena experiencia to be there and to experience history in the making. Chiva, este muchacho es tan suertudo.
Huele todavía a chimichurri, a fernet.
Todavía tengo el olor a las medialunas, el mate, todo. Uf.
And that's what we do right here in LatiNation Football Club, my friends. We bring you the action straight from the source. But for now, my friends, we have to go on a break, but don't go anywhere because when we come back, we're going to be talking about the CONCACAF qualifiers for the World Cup, a lot of surprises, also National Women's Soccer League, and so much more. So don't go anywhere. You're watching LatiNation Football Club.
Vegas knows how to celebrate. If you're headed to Vegas for your birthday, plan ahead to get all the birthday freebies the city has to offer. Just by showing your ID, you could get free cash play, scratch cards, drinks, and food at various venues on the Strip. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
College football can't allow Notre Dame to have the type of, year they have and schedule they have, and honestly put them up against other teams. Because Notre Dame looks like they're going to be a decent football team. They could lose, I think, next week to Texas A&M, Joe. Right. I don't think it's a great football team, but still a ranked team. And then run the table and still be in the playoff and absolutely beat nobody. The worst schedule they've ever seen in college football is Notre Dame this year.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Quarterback or coach has to answer for it.
Right.
Goff, Campbell. Listen, I'm not firing Dan Campbell already. I might be shipping Goff. I don't know, but I think the Lions. Again, it's week 1. Are we overreacting? I think the panic meter in Detroit is blaring. I think people are wondering when do the Pistons start.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
And we are back here in LatiNation Football Club. My friends, I am your host, Marcelino Ortiz, and it is time to talk about all things CONCACAF. Mexico y Estados Unidos had action, friendlies, but important teams that they really put these teams to the test. Also, CONCACAF continued with the qualification process for the World Cup, and that's why I'm here con el Chiva Mayor, conocedor y experto de la CONCACAF, y Alex Crespo. He's going to help us break down the pressure that Pochettino is under right now, because what is happening in the United States is important to track, because this is the moment where the people should be the most excited about the U.S. national team, and that is not the case, Chiva. They had a better performance on the second game, but before we go into Mexico, tell me, is the U.S. going on the right course?
I mean, they're friendly matches. Yeah, people, they want to see W's, they want to see wins all the time. But there's something going on besides the results. I think for the first time ever in the U.S. history, you see ex-players putting pressure on the actual players right now. That's something that has never happened before, and I think is going against what they're trying to build, and hopefully they can do better. Again, they're just friendly matches, relajados, vienen más partidos.
They're friendly matches, but this is the time where they need to get their act together. If they want to be a strong contender in the next World Cup, which they are hosting, they need to get their act together from now to be able to show that this is like, they're not hosting just for any reason. They're hosting because they have that level of football.
This is the second time that the U.S. is going to experience and host a World Cup, and the expectations are different. The first time around in '94, it was all about getting the game to be known in the country. Now, it's about positioning the United States as a main player, as a global player in the football world. Now, that's the reality when you host a World Cup. The pressure is high, the expectations are even higher. Now, the other host, Mexico, also not really convincing on these two games, but with very, very important glimpses of what could be. Chiva, what are your takeaways? Is the Mexican team in the right direction?
What I see from Mexico, yeah, Javier Aguirre. He knows what he's doing. I didn't like Mexico-Japan. I think Japan put a lot of pressure on top of Mexico. They didn't know what to do. Defensively, they did pretty well, but against Korea, I love the fact of the intensity of the match, especially in the second half. It was like if we were watching a World Cup match, 2-2, amazing goals, all of them. And it's exciting to see this new Mexican national team with new faces.
Así es, Chiva. Mexico had a great game against Korea. It was a World Cup level of game. You see the excitement like you mentioned. Let's break it down a little bit. I love that long range pass from Huesca, really showing that the time that he has spent in Europe really paid off. What a touch. a header. Talk to me. Does that goal remind you of any other World Cup goal?
Ni más ni menos que el segundo goleador histórico del tricolor, Jared Borghetti. That spectacular goal against Italia, where Buffon was like, what happened here? Anyway, Mexico played a really good game. I think tactically, they did pretty well. Defensively, they struggled a little bit at the beginning of the second half. But once Santi Jimenez got the ball and the rest of the players that came in and started playing better, Gallardo on the left, then we put Jorge Sanchez on the right, changing those two youngsters for two players that have been playing with the national team for a long time, made a difference at the end of the game and made them close stronger to look for that tie. That those was an amazing goal. And one thing I want to mention is the fact that for the first time ever, I've seen Mexico being not the local team in the stands. There was a lot of Koreans. They were making more noise than the Mexicans. You will never see that ever again in the U.S.
Yeah, it was crazy. Another thing that for me excites me and is one of the critical things that the Mexican team needs to, nail is the ability to score goals, player to create their own chances and score from outside the box. And Santi Jimenez scored a banger of a goal. Just a little movement to the left, space, put it right on the top bin. It was a beautiful goal. Do you feel like the fact that he's going to be playing less games throughout the year with Milan, let's make just a quick recap. Milan will not be playing any European competitions. They will only be participating on the Serie A and the local cups. So that means that Santi Jimenez has a lot less games than the rest of the world-class strikers. Is that a plus or a minus for the Mexican team?
I mean, I think it's a plus for Santi Jimenez because he's going to play less games. He's probably going to be, Milan is going to be, they're going to let him borrow to the national team a little bit more because if he's playing the Champions League, he's not the same. Yeah. We've seen with the players where they call him to the national team and they don't let him go because they're playing Champions League. And I think this is going to be different for Santi Jimenez, and he's good because he's a player that needs minutes, that needs time with Javier Aguirre, so Javier Aguirre can get more of him and, so he can help us in the World Cup to maybe play with two number 9s. You never know.
Finally, Chiva, did you miss El Chamaco Mora? Do you feel like the midfield of the Mexican team is complete, or should we be building around Gilberto Mora, the promise, the jewel of the Mexican soccer, the world? I mean,
Morita, he's have done pretty good. He's going to actual World Cup of the sub-20 national teams, and definitely, I think the Mexico, they miss that fire. That ese is como que le vale. He gets the ball and he plays it. It doesn't matter who's around him. It doesn't matter how old he is. He just makes it happen. And I think he's going to be a very good asset for the national team. Now, let's not forget that he's 16 years old. And sometimes when it comes to the big stages, las piernitas tiemblan and everything changes.
But I mean, I feel like in these past few years, we've been seeing so many young players showing up, not for the club teams, but for the national team as well. And we're just seeing a new generation of superstars that are coming super young.
Mexico needs to make it to the quinto partido. They finally have to break the curse. The United States has actually advanced further than Mexico in the World Cups, so they have to actually try to match what Costa Rica has achieved, the only CONCACAF team to actually make it to the semifinals. Chiva, let's talk about the teams that are actually competing for a spot in the World Cup in the CONCACAF region. Who is really surprising you at this moment?
I mean, it's all over the place. It's so exciting. Look, first of all, Nicaragua scoring for the first time in 21 years against Costa Rica with 10 men, tying that game 1-1 versus Costa Rica. Second game was a different story. Golden Point. They lost against Honduras. Yeah. But Nicaragua, I see them strong. I think that group in particular is going to be very close. And then you go to the other side where you see Guatemala outplaying El Salvador and losing the game 1-0, surprisingly. But they go to Panama and they come out with a draw. Again, very emotional. I think for these teams, Nicaragua, Guatemala, it's a unique opportunity for them to advance to a World Cup for the first time, and they should take it for granted.
But now it's time to go on a break, my friends, here in LatiNation Football Club, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to have Camila Ortiz breaking down everything that you need to know about what's happening in the Women's World National Women's Soccer League, Champions League, and some other important news. Don't go anywhere. This is LatiNation Football Club.
We all know nothing beats the energy of playing live roulette in a casino. But playing roulette online sure does have its perks. At the casino, you'll average 40 to 50 spins per hour. But online, you're looking at 100 to 150. The more spins, the more chance of wins. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
There's a little bit of a kerfluffle earlier today when there's an exception taken to a putt that wasn't given, and just the reactions were pretty unilateral from both sides of like, hey, that's not behavior that we're going to tolerate at this type of competition.
Can you talk to me about kerfluffle again? Can you run that word back? I've never heard that word before.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Who wants to go to Chicago in February for a Super Bowl? Hey, the NFL can host outdoor parties on Lake Michigan. Stop the madness at this point. But now I take a look at the Denver Broncos. Always fun in the Mile High City. Why? Because what a home field advantage. It's at elevation. It's going to be cold. It might snow, and Denver's going to have that advantage. You know what Denver goes? We're going to build a world-class facility that's going to be a dome.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
¿Qué tal, amigos? We are back here in LatiNation Football Club, and I'm here with Camila Ortiz, and she's going to help us break down everything that is happening in the women's world. Camila, el fútbol está que arde. There's so much stuff going on. What is the most important thing that we should be tuning in this week in the women's world?
You're making it hard for me to choose. There's so much happening in the world of women's football right now. One thing that I want to touch on, let's start with Champions League. It's really starting to pick up also on the women's side. Something I want to point out, we have some teams that are making their last final effort to qualify for Champions League. So we have teams like Madrid and Frankfurt, an example of a super exciting game we saw today. I don't know, did you have a chance to catch that game today?
I did not, but I heard that the level of competition is great because this is the last few spots for Champions League. The teams that do not make it to Champions League will, for the first time, compete on the Women's Europa League, the second-tier tournament, and the continent, which means that the teams are growing in level, that there's more teams that need continental competition to evolve and to grow. But to see Real Madrid still at the final stages trying to get a spot, it's unusual.
It's very unusual, but unfortunately this past season we saw Barcelona unfortunately outshining Real Madrid by far. I mean, I think 2 years ago Barcelona was the winner of Champions League, so it's looking like they're a bit unstoppable, this season.
Without a doubt, Barcelona is probably the most stacked team in the world in the women's side. But we also have great teams here in the United States. The National Women's Soccer League, it's also coming to its highest point. We're almost in the playoff territory. Camila, we have some teams that are faltering, some teams that we thought that would be right now almost undefeated, now, fighting for qualification. And I'm talking about the one and only Orlando.
I mean, that's the beauty of soccer, though. You never know what's going to happen. Like we saw some super exciting international men's games. You never know what could happen in the beautiful sport of soccer, but Orlando Pride is seriously faltering. This is their third loss in a row, and they have not won a match in about 5 to 6 games. So it's a tough streak. They recently lost 5-2 to Chicago Stars this weekend, and Chicago Stars are in 14th out of 15th place in the standings.
What are the big problems that Orlando is having, the current champion that is now kind of going the Galaxy way, having a terrible season right after the championship? For me, one of the reasons that this is happening is the injury of Banda. For me, Banda is their most influential player, even more so than Marta. and she was in track to be the top scorer of the tournament, and now she's injured, and who knows when she's going to be back.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. When you look at a team like Orlando in this league, their biggest advantage is their attacking power in the final third. And when you lose such an influential player like Banda, it really leaves a massive gaping hole that I don't know if they're going to be able to scrap up and patch it up by the time we get to playoffs.
A tough one, like I said. Now, there's another game this weekend that I'm very excited about, and that's San Diego Wave versus Gotham NYC. This is a West versus East. Do you think that San Diego is going to continue this, amazing pace? They're on pace to have their best season ever. The celebratory vibe is great. They just retired Alex Morgan number. San Diego is coming up both on the men's side and the women's side. It might be that San Diego has 2 champions in the same season, the men and the women. That would be crazy.
Yes, absolutely. They have proved themselves to be the dark horse of this season. It's incredible to see the comeback that they've made. Speaking, though, touching on the game that they are going to play this weekend versus Gotham, I think that's a tough. I wouldn't say it's an easy win for San Diego. They're actually coming off a 3-0 loss this weekend. When you face players like Esther Gonzalez, Rose Lavelle, they are both really big, influential, strong players. And I'd honestly be surprised if, Gotham wasn't able to put some goals in the back of the net.
That is right. Esther Gonzalez, one of the standout players for Spain. Also, Gotham, one of the deepest pockets in the whole tournament, has just signed the highest transfer inside of the National Women's Soccer League in history. So we continue to see the trend. These players now, very common. We see $1.2, $1.5 million as value for these players. It's amazing. I think that finally we're starting to see, the level of retribution and compensation that they deserve. Now, what other games are you looking forward this weekend?
If I had to tell you guys to watch one game this weekend in the NWSL, it would by far be the Kansas City Currents, who are sitting at #1 right now in the standing, versus Washington Spirit, who are coming off a massive win this weekend. 2 goals from the one and only Trinity Rodman, who is just coming back from injury. So I expect her to do great things in these upcoming games, and especially I'm excited to see what magic she can work up in the playoffs.
Thank you, Camila. And there you have it, my friends. Everything that you need to know this week about women football. But unfortunately, we come to the end of our show. But we want to thank you, the MVP of LatiNation Football Club, for choosing to be with us this week. And remember, every Friday we'll be here dishing it out. Everything that you need to know about football, soccer, catenaccio, calcio, whatever you call it, we have it here on LatiNation Football Club.
Vegas knows how to celebrate. If you're headed to Vegas for your birthday, plan ahead to get all the birthday freebies the city has to offer. Just by showing your ID, you could get free cash play, scratch cards, drinks, and food at various venues on the Strip. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
College football can't allow Notre Dame to have the type of, year they have and schedule they have, and honestly put them up against other teams. Because Notre Dame looks like they're going to be a decent football team. They could lose, I think, next week to Texas A&M, Joe. Right. I don't think it's a great football team, but still a ranked team. And then run the table and still be in the playoff and absolutely beat nobody. The worst schedule they've ever seen in college football is Notre Dame this year.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Quarterback or coach has to answer for it. Right. Goff, Campbell. Listen, I'm not firing Dan Campbell already. I might be shipping Goff. I don't know, but I think the Lions. Again, it's week 1. Are we overreacting? I think the panic meter in Detroit is blaring. I think people are wondering, when do the Pistons start?
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.